Okay, everyone, hello, and hello everybody out there on the internet and the people here in the room. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. This is now, what, number 6, I think, in this series. We keep on growing this little educational thing around the different things you're doing to get ahead type thing. So we've heard in volumes from Don Kerr. We've got some other speakers. We've got Will's coming up. We've got Bradley going to speak next week. I've spoken about business, but now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you a very dear friend of mine, Donna Hein. Now, Donna and I go back 20-something years. We're going to get hazy at this stage about that bit of detail specifically. But anyway, we've known each other some time, and it's and Donna's been there at various points in my life now. She's a life coach, a mentor, a business manager, and a woman that's vastly experienced in terms of life. So she's been a person I've deferred to over the years, and it's been a great pleasure to have her on my side and in my corner. I've done a lot of things in my life. She's done a lot of things in her life. And if I'm going to preface a little bit, I think it sounds like someone's coming in a little bit late after all that, but we'll let them come in. It's been interesting to see that there's the school of thought that we come from and that I really love and have enjoyed is a thing called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So if anybody's heard of it here in the room, NLP, yeah. So big fan of it. Come on in.
Right, sorry,
yeah.
Someone actually bailed me up at the door.
Oh, all right, okay. Just grab yourself a seat there and you'll be fine, Belinda. Thanks for coming along tonight. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Now, people say, what is that? Sounds like a bit of hocus pocus. It's got some hypnotherapy in it and all the rest of that. And go, well, it's not quite that. It's more about a set of knowledge about helping you communicate with others, communicate with yourself. And there's some goal setting in there, there's some hypnotherapy stuff in there, but ultimately it's about living a better life. It's sort of it's not a religion, clearly, there's no deity, but it's something whereby, it's helped me get a lot out of my life. So a little bit of history there are some things I've done is obviously, post-marriage when I really started to go wild and I was introduced to NLP, I actually went and lived on a boat with Sundays for 7 years. So greatly enjoyed that part of my life and look upon it fondly. And even now, everybody knows it here in the room, I think I've gone foiling, foil surfboard, it gets out of the water, it takes off. It's a huge commitment. It takes a lot of mental thought and a lot of commitment to get on and do that sort of thing. So I'm greatly enjoying that as something I'm now doing with my life, along with the rest of the lifestyle. Anybody takes some time with me, they say, John, how do you have that lifestyle? Well, it's not the money, it's the choices I've made, but anyway, I think that's about enough preface for NLP. Go look it up if you want. Contact us if you actually want an audio series around that. We've got something there as well. But I guess it's about this point. I'll hand over to Donna Hein. Now, we're just going to do something a little bit indecent here. We're just going to switch her microphone on as well. So come on up, Donna. Just stand out of frame. Stand out of frame so people can't see you. There we go. And we're switching you on, and I think you're live. So off you go. You're all right. Thank you very much, Donna Hein.
Thank you. Thank you, John, and thank you, Don, for inviting me here this evening, and thank you, everybody, for attending. Yes, John and I go back quite a way, and we've had many interesting adventures all around the world, together and apart with our families, and it was wonderful when I came back from France to have the opportunity to work with John. And we worked together for about 3 years, and we finished that at the end of January due to personal ventures that I had to take, looking after my mum and a few other things that were going on. We had an amazing 3 years. But as John said, it's the choices in life that determine the quality of our life. And that's what John has said that he's been doing, and he's made some really interesting choices. And that now gives him quality of life. Tonight, I want to talk about knowledge and plan and action. Now, we can have all the knowledge in the world based on different topics, based on different subjects, based on life, living, not just investing. It's about relationships. We have all this knowledge. Once we have that knowledge, we then plan to use that knowledge. Then some people don't follow through with the action. And that's where we find ourselves in life in a stuck state. Because we have the knowledge, we know what we want to do, we plan, but there's something that's holding us back. There is something that stops us from taking action. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. And it's a holistic approach to life and living, whether it's family, relationship, in your career and your investment, where you want to go in life, even to travel. You have the knowledge of where you want to go. Hopefully in 2022 that will happen. Hasn't happened for the last couple of years. And you're going to plan. But what is it that holds us back from not actioning through on that? So we'll have a little look at that. Let's start with the first slide. What is the meaning of knowledge? Facts, information and skills acquired through experience or education, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject, and that's any subject, in or outside the classroom. All learning is state dependent. I'll explain that. You have to be in most of us are in a certain state while we're learning. Now we can either be enthused by what we're learning, we can either be sitting there taking in information but really not what we're going to do with it. It's the difference between what we do with that knowledge and what we don't do with it. Why is it that children love going to play sport, and when they're given the skills and the tactics and the knowledge about a certain game, they put that in practice and they love it? It's because they're in that certain state. They're in that state of wanting to embrace that. In a classroom, that doesn't always happen. And that's because children all learn differently. And there are teachers that can teach and there are teachers that can't teach. And it's really important, and it's difficult in a classroom when you've got 30 or 40 students to be able to understand their learning behaviours and styles. But every child can learn if they're given the opportunity. But they've got to be enthused about it. They've got to be passionate about what they're learning. And most children are passionate about playing a sport or playing an instrument. That is why some children do better in the classroom and adults do better in the classroom, because they're passionate about what they're doing. A mind once stretched to a new dimension can never return to its original form. Once you've taken in information, regardless of what it is, it's there forever, correct? Mm-hmm. Your mind can't go backwards. You might forget it, but it still comes back into your unconscious occasionally. It's like going to a refrigerator. You only get out of it what you put in. And that's what it is with learning in life. You're only going to get out of it what you put in. And that's the important part of being able to grow. As we get older and more mature, we use wisdom from the past and we'll be able to put that into the future. Just remember that in any life, form, subject, adventure, you're only going to get out of it what you put in. Whoop. At any time, I'm going to stop, and if you've got any questions, please. It's all about you asking me questions and hopefully I can answer them. And for you just to get a bit of understanding about how the mind works, how, as John said, neurolinguistics is about the mind, the language and programming, putting it all together. Our mind is a very, very complicated and very powerful computer. And if we know how to use it in line with the way that we speak, the way that we think and the way that we act, it becomes a very powerful tool. And that just forges us forward into the best way in order to follow through with anything is to diarise, to make sure you write down what it is that you want to do. A dream is a goal with a deadline. Remember that? A dream is a goal with a deadline. Who here has dreams? Of course. A dream. A bucket list. You might want to call it a bucket list. I'm sure that we all have something in life that we want to achieve. Now, that can be throughout any aspect of our life. Again, relationships, family, career, sport, investing. It's travel. Where do we want to go in? Where do we want to see ourselves in the next 5 years? Where do we want to see ourselves in the next 10 years? And it might be even the next 12 months. But you've got to have a plan. You don't want to be a gunner. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'll do that next week. No, I'll do that next year. And that's when you fall into this trap of procrastination and you go around and around in a circle. And you want to break that circle. And the only way to break it is to make sure that you diarise what you want to achieve and when you want to achieve it by. That is such an important aspect. And I believe maybe at some stage throughout the Happy Investors workshops that Don and John have talked about putting a goal out into a timeline. When you do plan, you need to make your goal clear. You need to really understand what it is. It has to be relevant. It has to be ecological. It has to be attainable. Don't go and make a goal so big that you can't get to it. You want to do baby steps. And this is where people fail, is that this is their goal and they make it too big and too grand and too far away in the. And what happens when you don't reach a goal? How does that make you feel? It just puts you back another step. You know, you want to make yourself feel good. So it has to be attainable and towards what you want with time frames. So if you're looking at, we'll just use property purchasing or shares or any portfolio. If you're looking at doing something, say to yourself, by the 1st of November 2022, this is where I want to be. This is my goal, and that's towards, not away from. You're going to push yourself towards that goal. And you might even want to have it written up on your fridge or in your bedroom where it's visual, you see it all the time. But it has to be attainable and towards what you want with time frames. And it could be with health. The same thing, it might be that you're wanting to improve your health and fitness. Have your goal and have your time frame. When do you want to achieve it by? What does it look like when you get there? And that's the last step, the end step. How do you know when you get there? How do you know when you reach your goal? You need to be able to see it, to feel it. And this is how the body works. It's mind and body, action. If you want to achieve something, then you need to be able to put yourself out there in order to do that. As I said, a mind once stretched to a new dimension can never return to its original state. And that's an important thing to remember. So plan. When you go home this weekend, when you've got some time, write down what it is that you want to achieve and when you achieve it by. Really important. And keep going and looking at that. You don't need to change it, because once it's been set, hopefully nothing untoward happens between now and then, and you can stick to that goal. But believe me, I've seen it happen over and over again, and I wouldn't be able to stand up here and talk to you if I hadn't been there, done that. So I've worked my way through from, my first job was in libraries, so I was a library technician, but I was passionate and I wanted to move further in my career. I was a single mother at that stage, so that wasn't the easiest thing to be able to do. But I was determined to achieve it. So I set my goals and I set my mind to how I wanted to do it. And I had to believe that it was possible. So from there I did some more study and I was able to escalate to become an international manager for Drake International, Asia Pacific. I then worked with Tourism Queensland as their national manager. It's been an absolute delight to be able to do that. I have to pinch myself sometimes to realise I've actually done it. And then I started my own business in 2005. I wanted to give back from all the years of learning. And then I became very passionate about neurolinguistics, about how we think makes a difference, what our perception of reality is like, because it's only our perception. So I then decided to continue working in my business and then had a passion to go to France. And that was a dream, which I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. It wasn't my husband's dream, by the way. That took a lot of work. So please, do plan. It's so important to plan. If we don't diarise things, we don't know exactly when it's going to happen. I keep going the wrong way. I'm used to this one. Okay. Action. Why do some people not follow through with their plan? Don?
Lots of reasons.
Anybody else? Mickey? Any?
That they don't know how to achieve it. They've got the plan, but they don't know the steps to make it happen.
Yes,
They don't have the confidence.
exactly. Anybody else?
Procrastination.
Absolutely, procrastination.
And sometimes the fear of doing it wrong,
Exactly.
instead of accepting the fact that we are doing to do it in our own way.
That's right. We are all individuals and we will all do it differently.
Because sometimes we compare each other, you know, say, oh, this person is doing really well, but I'm not like him, I'm not going to succeed. But actually, no, I can, but at my own pace or my own way, or, you know, this kind of...
Yes. You are absolutely correct. There are so many reasons why. These are just a few. Fear. F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. It is just false evidence appearing real. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's okay for me to stand up and say that, but if you continually say it to yourself and you follow through, it happens. I've done it many, many a time. There was no way I would have succeeded in my career if I hadn't of faked it till I made it. It's just life. You had to pretend. It's like acting. You pretend until it becomes an unconscious behaviour that you can actually do it. You have to believe in yourself. So false evidence appearing real. What it means is that you've come out of your comfort zone. Oh my goodness, I've left my little circle. What am I going to do? Life's different. Things are different. And so there's all these vibrations going through your body. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? Oh, look, he did it differently to me. Oh no, it's just all too hard. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Just false evidence appearing real. Look, our perception of reality is not reality itself. It can never be. It's what you think it is in your own mind, because Pascal will think differently to Donna, to Kim, to Don, to Mickey. It's because of the people that we are. We can't possibly all think and behave the same way. We are perfect individuals, all very unique, coming from all different backgrounds. And that's what makes us different. And that's why people like, look, you've got all these famous people up here that, that John reads about. It is why one person who has had probably exactly the same experience as another may do it differently. And that's because of the passion and the belief, and they get through the fear factor. They absolutely do. They have to believe in that. You've got to push yourself. That's what life is all about. It's not sitting down and not taking action. It's believing that you can do it in any aspect of your life. Relationships, marriage. People don't believe in themselves. That's all part of it. They don't believe in themselves. Self-image. We can never consistently do anything that is inconsistent with our self-image. We can never consistently do anything that is inconsistent with our self-image. What do you think of yourself? That's going to hold you back, isn't it? If you don't fully believe that you are capable, that you have the skills. But if you don't have the skills, what do? You go and ask for help. As Mickey said, you need to get all the facts. Don't just stand back and go, oh no, I don't have all the facts. Business, no way. Step out of your comfort zone. Yes, it's going to be scary, but you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. And it'll be so gratifying in the end. People don't trust themselves. Self-image, which we've just talked about. Self-talk. What's this little thing in here that keeps going? Now, Donna, I'm not sure if you'll be able to do that. Who has self-talk? Everyone has self-talk. Do we want it to be positive? Yes. We want it to be positive. If you're going to say something to yourself, make it nice. Don't beat yourself up, because all it is you are doubting your ability as a human being, and you should never do that. That can also come from conditioning in your past, which I'll get onto later. So there are many reasons why we do the things that we do, and majority of it will come and stem from our past, from our parenting, from our teachers, from mentors. Scared of risks? Who's scared of taking risks? Nearly everybody is scared of taking a risk. And my husband would be a person who would and never has taken a lot of risks in his life. And for me, I am a bit of a risk taker because I thought, well, I'd rather have tried in life than have failed. I'd rather even try and fail. You will never get ahead by just going to work and coming home every day. It's a fallacy. It'll never happen. If you want to get ahead in life, you have to do other things to make that happen, whether it's investing, whatever you need to do, increase your education, earn more money. But there is no way that you'll get ahead unless you decide to go down a different track. So taking a risk. So I loved and had a passion for purchasing property. But my husband would always go, no, not taking the risk. We'll never get the money back. We'll never do this, we'll never do that. I got him to purchase, well, together, not got him. He decided that, yes, we would invest in a unit, which was fabulous. And I said, well, look, let's keep going. You know, we're both earning a fairly good income and we want to retire early. Let's keep going. He goes, no, not doing it. I'm not doing it. I said, well, come on, let's do it. So in the end, he said, no more. I don't want to invest. We went overseas and we travelled through France. And I found this most dilapidated, disgraceful building in the most amazing, idyllic area of France, right on the river. There was a 11th century Roman bridge at the back of the property. There was a medieval watermill on the left side. It was, and used to be, an old cafe, bar. It was a toll booth at one stage and had just been left there. And I don't know what it was. We walked around and around it and I just said to my husband, look, wouldn't this just be fabulous? Wouldn't this be great? Well, you can imagine what he said. Look at the work. You've got to be kidding. There is no way. But there was just something about that property that drew me to it. Now, I've never studied French. My husband did a little bit of French at school, but I was just drawn to it. So we went back home and I just couldn't get this property out of my mind. It was, do you know when you wake up in the middle of the night, have you ever had that feeling and you've just got this thought that won't leave you? Mm-hmm. And this happened for 12 months. And I thought, I've got to follow through with this. So I knew who to call and I said, is this property still available? They went, yes, it's still available. So I spoke to my husband again. No way, Donna, I'm not going. If I'm not going to buy the house next door, I'm certainly not going to buy a property in France. So I said, I can't leave it. There's just something there. So I hopped on a plane, went to England and stayed with my daughter and son-in-law. And I said to them, come with me. Come with me. My daughter's like me. She's very kinesthetic, very feeling, whereas my son-in-law is very money, figures, very logical thinking. So we went over there and we actually got to have a look inside. And again, it was just the most amazing thing. There was galleon ship timber beams on the top level. It's pre-Napoleonic, so it's over 300, a lot of work to be done. But it was just drawing me. It was just drawing me. There was a reason. So I thought, what can I do to convince my husband that this would be a great adventure for us to go on before we get too old? Step out of our comfort zone, do something completely different. So I took some videos and I did some commentary on the videos and I videoed around the town and the property and I thought, gee, am I ever going to convince him to be able to do this? So I waited a few days after I got home, hi, sweetheart, how are you? I had a great trip. And so then I put the video on and I let him watch it on his own. So he had his own space so that he could actually think about what was going on. He didn't say much after the first time. So it was about 3 times that he'd watched this video. And it was like a turning point for him. It was like he could see things through my eyes for the first time. He wasn't completely happy in his position at work, and he is certainly one that never takes risks, never steps out of his comfort zone. But there was just a couple of things that triggered off to make him feel that he was able to take this risk. And again, he had all the knowledge, he had the planning stage, but he needed to action, and he did that. So we had the most challenging and amazing 8 years of living in France. We still have our property, haven't been able to sell it, and it just life-changing. He didn't want to come back to live in Australia. That's how much he loved it. So just, well, j'adore français. So patterns of behaviour. That's an interesting one, which is probably, Peter would be an example, and I did tell him tonight I would be sharing, and he said, oh gee, okay, I hope I never meet these people. But patterns of behaviour. I'll get it right, John. I'm just going to draw this. Let's say this is a CD. I'm not going to say DVD because everybody watches Netflix these days. What happens when I put a CD into a player? The same CD into a player. What happens with the CD? It's got music on it. You get the same music every time you put it in? Yeah. So I put a CD in and it continues to play the same music over it. It can't not, because that's what's imprinted on the CD. But what would happen if I scratched that CD? Would it play the same way? What would happen? Exactly. Let's just look at us as a CD. In life, we have patterns of behaviour. And most times we continue with that pattern of behaviour over and over again because we don't know any different, do we? We do the same thing every day. It's a pattern of behaviour. It's who we are. But what would happen if someone came along and scratched that and said, stop? We could never play that pattern of behaviour the same way ever again. It's like, I'll use another terminology. Has anyone ever heard of the word a stuck state? Rut.
Rut, yes.
Rut. What happens when you're in a rut?
Go stay the same.
Exactly, it's exactly this. Until something happens, just one thing to change your thought processes, to change your feelings. And that's what happened to Peter. It just took one thing. There was something in that DVD that I brought back that triggered off one thing for him to want to change. And that's a passion, a belief that it can actually happen, to step out of your comfort zone and take that risk. So it's called a pattern interrupt. And there are a lot of people in this world that are in what's called a rut, a stuck state, and they don't know how to get out of it. The loudest arguments happen in your own head, and your greatest opponent is yourself. We were talking about the self-talk before, and that's exactly it. When you believe in yourself, when you believe that it's possible, and you have the knowledge to carry it through, then you need to step out of your comfort zone and take those risks. It is entirely worth it. Anybody got any questions up until now about any of that?
I was just wondering, can people be stuck in a pattern of being around certain people for a period of time where you try and change but nothing changes, and it's like they're trying to hold you to that same pattern?
That is possible. That is definitely possible. And I'll use an example as domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's the fear. It's the self-worth of how to know how to break away, what to do, and not offending the other person. And you may care dearly for that person, but there is a reason, and there are many reasons why people stay in an unsafe situation. or are still friends with someone that they know they should be cutting the umbilical cord because they're not helping them build their self-esteem. And that's entirely possible. But it's for you then to take steps to understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, and for you to really want to do it and break that pattern of behaviour. So yes, that is possible. Cause and effect. Results versus reason. Richard Branson. If anyone had a reason to not become famous, to not forge forward in life, he would certainly be someone that was put down so much at school, you know, branded as, Richard Branson, sorry, excuse the pun, dyslexic, really had no confidence in himself. But there was something deeper inside of him that said, no, I am better than this. I am not going to continually be put down. I will break away. And he did that. A lot of people in this world will blame everybody else for why they are where they are. Oh, I had the worst parents in the world. I had no money when I was growing up. I didn't have a good education. That's called cause. Did it affect you? Yes. Results versus reasons. Do you always have a reason why you can't excel or go past where you want now? No, I can't invest in property. I don't have enough money. I don't believe that it's viable. I'm not sure how I'm going to make payments. Relationships. Do you always have a reason why your relationship failed? And I know people that do that. Now, this one didn't work out again. Number 5. Why? Why didn't it? Yeah. So cause and effect. Do you want to cause what happens to you in your life, or do you want to be on the effect side? That's what it means. You get it by so many things in your past. But if you break away from that, and if you can see past that, you can cause what happens to you. Results versus reasons. Do you want the results, or do you always have an excuse why you can't exceed in life, or you can't go to the next level, or your relationship isn't working, or you're clashing with your children as they're growing up? There are certain things to be able to do that. Now, I'll just go one more slide. I'll do a bit more on the cause and effect. See, as we're growing up, we are, I guess, exposed to so many different elements in life, and we don't always know what to do with these elements. And again, going back to how you were conditioned. Conditioned by your parents, conditioned by your teachers, which have had a huge impact on a lot of people, particularly going back to the 50s and 60s, where children weren't even allowed to write with their hand. You know, they just smack over their hand. You know, the teachers would make fun of children in school. I mean, all of this has an impact. It's not so much on, I suppose, our adolescents today, but going back to that era, we were conditioned by so many things. I mean, I grew up in a household of domestic violence and alcoholism, and that had a huge impact on my life growing up. And I had to break away. It was verbal abuse, so I actually thought I was worthless. I thought I was worthless. I believed I was worthless. And I don't know what happened, but it took me a while to realise that I wasn't worthless, and that I had something to contribute to this world just like everybody else did, but I had to believe it. I had to believe it myself. And so that condition became less and I was able to take away from that and use that experience to help other people. I want to think about the past and what you are now in the future and what you think about. And if you think about something, you might as well make it positive. Because if you can't help thinking about what you don't want to think about without thinking about it. You can't help thinking about what you don't want to think about without thinking about it, correct? Mm-hmm. That's self-talk. So results versus reasons, cause and effect. You want to cause what happens to you in your life. I've got to remember to go backwards. Talking about conditioning. Between the years of 0 and 7, did any of us really have any fear? Look, we'd swing to the highest level, we would say what we wanted to say. Life was just amazing because you hadn't been conditioned. So that's the imprint period. Between the years of 0 and 7, Dr. Morris Massey gave us these time frames. It could be 0 to 5 years now, the way that these children are growing up so quickly, the intelligence levels and what they're learning at school. But the imprint period is where we take in information, but we're not told, you can't write with your left hand, you can't do that, put your pants on, put your right leg in first, do this, do that. We just did it because we didn't know any different. And then comes the modelling period between the years of 7 and 14, where we are told what we can do and what we can't do, based on someone's perception of reality. And so the modelling period is what stays a lot in our mind. Who helped you model who you were? Who was your mentors? Who did you follow in life? What books did you read? What movies did you watch? What teachers influenced you the most? Why did you excel so well? So that's the modelling period. So now you're starting to think about, oh, I can't do this. Am I worthy of this? Am I too fat? Am I too thin? 14 to 21, the socialisation period. So here we are, we're going out into a period of having fun, socialising, going to restaurants, going to clubs, having fun. And again, we're seeing more and more of what social media are putting out there. 21 to 35, that's the business persona. Now it's all come together. How has that made a difference in your life? And who's made a difference in your life? Because you weren't fearful between the years of 0 and 7, but as we get older and we start being conditioned by life, by social media, by people, we then doubt ourselves. We then start thinking, well, this is what I was told in the media, or this is what my friend is doing, and why aren't I doing it? And this is how my friend looks, but I don't look like that. All of that makes a huge difference on how we come through at the other end. So you need to think about who has had the influence in your life and why. Or has someone influenced you the wrong way? Is that why you think the way that you think? So we've been conditioned. Conditioning is a very strong factor of who we are and what makes us to do the things that we do. Does everyone have a piece of paper and a pen? And if not, I think we have some here somewhere. Yes, here I've got.
Down on the shelf there, Donna, down further.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Does anybody?
Pen down the shelf above.
Does anyone need pen and paper?
I don't have any.
Can I give you that and that? Right, we want.
Can I rip a page out of this? Is that right?
Jared, I'll give you that one. Excuse me for leaning across. I'll just get a pen out of here for you. Pens. Here we go. Can we just pass this back and give you some pens there? Fabulous. Great. I want to talk about values. I'm not talking about dollar values. I'm talking about what you value in life. Does everybody, can someone give me an example of a value?
Honesty.
Honesty, absolutely. Anyone else? A value. What?
Integrity.
Integrated?
Integrity.
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 Okay, integrity. No,
No?
absolutely integrity. We can have two lots of core values in our life. We can have our personal values and we can have our business values. Most times they are integrated. Honesty, integrity. Values are what drives us in our life. What we value in life will determine the direction that we go in. If you don't value money, if it's not a part of your life, do you think you're actually going to have money? No. And that's evident. I've done a lot of work with youth and the unemployed, and it's evident in some of the people that I've worked with. Money's not important to them. So why would they need to work? Why do they need to work when they don't value money? And that's why when people have won an extreme amount of money on the lotto, that it just goes because it's not important to them. They don't care about it. So values drive us in what we do in our daily life. And what's interesting, and I speak about people that are going in for an interview into an office, you can tell what a person values when you first walk into their space. So if you're going in for an interview and you might see there are certificates on the wall of their achievements, there might be photos of their family, there might be photos of motorbikes, there might be on and on and on, sporting paraphernalia. That's what a person values. And so you quickly scan the room, and if you have the opportunity, you make talk about that. If you come into my house, into the first room, you'll see what I value most in my life, and that's my family. You'll see photos of going back to my great-great-parents, my grandparents, or my children, my grandchildren. That is important to me. That's what drives me. It's my passion. If you're not living through your values, then you will never achieve what you want to achieve. So values, and again, where do they stem from? Going back to your conditioning. Where do your values stem from? Back to where you were conditioned from the past. So a value is what drives you. A value is what will turn the corner for you to do something different if you're following your values. Look, what I want you to do is I want you to write down your top 10 values in life, and it can be across the spectrum of your personal life and your business life. Integrated. What is important to you? What is it that's going to drive you through life? How do you spend your time? How do you fill your space? What is the most important things in life, the top 10 that will take you to where you want to go? And when it comes, if something comes in mind, please write it down. Don't take time to do this, because your unconscious mind actually knows what your values are. So write it down, just write, just keep writing as it comes into your mind. Write down those values. And for those listening at home, online, please do the same. Write down the top 10 values. What do you value in life? What is important to you? You got to push yourself. Push. No, this is your body, your mind. What's important to you in life? Health, wealth. I've been in many classes where mature people have gone, do you know, I haven't actually had the time in the last 10 years to sit down and reflect on what's important to me because I've been so busy helping everybody else. It's taking the time to find out what's important to you as a unique individual. Push yourself, please. You want at least 10. Let your unconscious part of the brain tell you what they are. Don't consciously try and think about it. What makes you happy? What makes you feel good? What are you passionate about? How are we going? Has anyone got to 6? 7?
Yeah, 7.
I'll give you 1 more minute to do that. Think outside the square box. This is about you, not about anybody else. You have to value the fact that you are a valuable person and you're worth investing in yourself, because that's what life is all about. It's investing in you. All right, we all got 10? Who's got 20?
Eight, 9.
Come on, Pascal, 1 more. If you've got your 10, can I please ask you to think about, have a look at each value, and on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low. Yeah, not so good. 10 being high. Let's just say health is one of your... You value your health. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you managing your health? 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you living your life? If relationships are on there, if that's important to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are your relationships like? 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Absolutely, that's exactly right, Donna. How well are you achieving it? If family is highly important to you, I know we all have conflicts in our family. On a scale of 1 to 10, are you doing the best that you can, if that's a value? Honesty, happiness. Are you happy? On a scale of 1 to 10. If you're sitting at a 5, then obviously we need to do some more work there. Financial status. Are you in the place that you want to be financially? On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you sitting? One being, no, I'm not doing so good, to 10 being, yes, I've got this. For those who are listening in, please do the same thing on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you living these values? Are you actioning through with these? Think about it and be honest with yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not so good and 10 being, yes, I've got this. It might be further education. Do you procrastinate about learning? Travel, bucket list. You know, travel can also be a value. If you value traveling, are you setting up your goal to be able to achieve that? A goal is a dream, or a dream is a goal with a deadline. If that's your dream, don't let go of it. You don't want to get to 70 and say, I wish I had have done that. How many people have done that? I wish I had have done that. And that's why we took the opportunity to go to France, because if we didn't do it then, we would never have the opportunity to do it. How are we all going? Donna, got it done?
A bit hard.
It is, isn't it? It pushes us to think about things.
So, for example, honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I rating it how honest I am?
Yeah. It's your value. It's what's important to you. Honest in your daily life. On a scale of 1 to 10, honesty is a really strong value, and honesty in a business. And if you run a business as well, it integrates those two. If that's important to you in a business, am I running my business as honestly as I can? As a person, am I being as honest I can with myself and others? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Does that feel right?
Because I put down like social justice, but that's sort of got nothing to do with my life.
But do you value social justice?
Yeah, I do. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I value social justice. Like it's something.
If
but
that's
I don't know how that's happening in my life because I'm affected by.
what about in your
social justice.
business life and your work life?
I'm a teacher. So, yeah.
What you're asking yourself is there anything that you can do to help with that social justice? Are you contributing as much as you can to, if that's a strong value, as a human being, are you contributing to that?
What you're doing, as long as you're doing, like I got down equity, so like, you know, like with people with disabilities, making sure that they're treated equally is my passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing that on the sideline, so I would put like 9 or 10 for that because you're doing the best you can.
Absolutely. There are some things that you're passionate about, that you, look, it's about making a difference. So Kim, you're talking about making a difference in life, and that's what you value. Those two things that you've just brought up is about making a difference in people's life.
So if you're doing the best you can with what you've got,
Mm-hmm. If you're doing the best you can with the resources that you have currently, as long as you know you're doing the best that you can at this present time. But if you value that, that's going to be carried through for the next few years, and you may have more of an opportunity to take a stance on it. Is there any other questions on how we're going with our values? Bradley, can you contribute anything to this? What is there one value there that stood out to you where you haven't been able to place as much emphasis on it?
Creativity.
Mm-hmm. As in, can you elaborate?
I'm an original thinker, and because of my career, I felt constrained in that, because you've got to conform to,
Yes.
you know, to
Corporate life.
the corporate model.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So now that I'm rid of that, my creativity has got the ability to expand
To
a
grow.
lot now, because
Yes.
it's only got the limits that I put on it. No one else.
And that's a great statement. Can you just say it again, Bradley? You about your creativity and about the limits that you're putting on. What was the statement that you made?
Well, now that I don't have constraints, my creativity doesn't have any boundaries except for what I put on it.
Mm. That's it. It's what boundaries you put on it, what limits that you put on it. Anybody else want to share?
Really what I value the progress, doing my best. Willingness to do my best can differ from one day to another, but at least I still have that passion of
Yes.
doing my best.
Mm.
But sometimes my best is not really
Mm.
good, but at least it's my best for that day or this project. I have the willingness to do
Mm.
my best. You
Mm.
know.
And that also can be affected by the state that you're in at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
Behaviours and states, that's another thing we'll talk about later. Anybody else want to share it? How often do you think about yourself and what you value in life and what you want out of life? Honestly, how often do you think about it?
Regularly, all the time.
Good.
I'm not sure if that's the right answer.
No, there's no wrong or right answer. This is all about looking at ourselves and what's important to us. And we're all so busy, whether we're teachers or parents or working in a corporate field, or we all get caught up but don't often have the time to look at where we are going and where we want to be. So this is an exercise that just gives you some idea of how you're sitting with your values. I mean, this is just touching the tip of the iceberg to tonight about us and our perception of reality and where we're sitting and where we want to go. So that's a little bit about values. Does anybody have any questions? Oop, I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
Do you want to go to the next one, Donna?
Is that the oh no, there's one before that. Oh, back, hang on. Oh, back. Can you take me right back? I don't think I'm going. Oh, hang on. Oh, beautiful. Love technology. Go with the flow. Anybody have any questions on values? Are we clear understanding of what a value is and how important it's what drives us? It's actually what drives us in our life. What we value in life. I want to talk about the mind. Just get rid of this little character over here. The mind is such a, oh my goodness, it's such a powerful tool. If we combine our mind, our body, our action, our thoughts, our words together, and unconsciously create that behaviour, then things will change for you. So look, the conscious, does everyone understand the difference between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind? So you have to consciously think about doing something. I've got to consciously, hang on, I've got to do this tomorrow. You consciously write down what it is that you have to do, or I consciously have to, anyone can elaborate on that? Conscious, the conscious mind. Do we understand what the conscious mind means?
Awareness.
Awareness. Anybody else? We have to think about it.
It's the doing.
It's the conscious mind. The conscious mind is, look,
Action we have to take.
it is exactly. I'll see if I can give it to you. Exactly. You can think, you can choose, and you can make a decision to accept or reject. You have to consciously say, someone says to me, do you want to come for a swim with me? And the water's really cold. You're going to make a conscious decision and you're going to reject that and say, no, it's too cold. I'm not going to hop in. You can choose something, you can accept something, you can reject something, but it's your awareness. The unconscious mind is like the feeling part of your mind. Now, that's where all of our dreams are stored. I'll give you an example of unconscious. Who here drives a car? Bike? Anything? Right. When we're learning to drive a car, we had to consciously think about, hang on, I've got to open the door, I've got to sit down, seatbelt, seatbelt, key in, turn the key on, manual car, get it into gear. We had to consciously teach ourselves how to do it. Do we do that now?
No.
We just get in and do it. We don't even think about it. That's the unconscious part of life. Cleaning your teeth. You just go into the bathroom, you pick up the toothbrush, you clean your teeth. It's an unconscious behaviour. You just do it because you're so used to it, you repeat it. Have you ever been driving along somewhere and you know your destination is destination B? I've got to go to destination B today. But you're so used to going to destination A and you were thinking about something else that you ended up at destination A. Unconscious behaviour. You just do it because it is already locked into the unconscious part of your brain. Our dreams are stored in the unconscious part of our brain. There are times when we think about things of the past, and that's stored in our unconscious as well. And depending on what state you're in, let's say you're in a really happy state and you're bringing up a memory that's not quite so good. You can accept that or you can change it. If you're in not quite such a good mood and you bring up the same memory, you can make it however you want because That's the unconscious part of the brain. You can change that memory forever based on how you're feeling. So that's how the mind is divided. So you can consciously think about, the conscious brain can stop us from doing so much stuff. That's where all your self-talk comes in. It can reject and it can accept. It's what you actually want. But this self-talk can hold us back. The self-talk on, am I good enough? Can I do it? Do I want to do it? I don't have enough money to do that. You're consciously rejecting information. Whereas the unconscious, it's just, you just expect it, it just happens, you just unconsciously do it. It's a behaviour. When the conscious mind and the unconscious mind are what's called congruent, they're working together, that's when you'll get the action. So the body will go, oh wow, both parts of my brain agree, woohoo! That self-talk that says, you know, great, go do it. The unconscious goes, yeah, I'm with you, let's go do it. And so the body accepts that information, and so you get results. So it's handling that self-talk. It's handling the fact that you just want to expect things, and it's the feeling part of the brain. So unconscious and conscious behaviour, I won't spend too much on it. I just wanted to just touch on the way that the mind works, and that we are broken into to two parts. I'll explain this now in a little bit more detail. It's called the model of communication. As powerful as our brain is, and it is a computer, it's the most powerful computer on the planet. It can only accept so much information, otherwise you get overload. It's like memory in a computer. It's like RAM. You know, if the computer gets full, you're putting in more memory. The brain is the same way. So I can tell you tonight that each one of you will remember something different to the other, or take away something different to the other. It's what's important to you. So let's just say 2 million bits of information per second are coming into your brain. There is no way you can take all of that and do something with it. You'll delete what's not important to you based on your values. You will delete and distort information based on how you're feeling, what state you're in. If you're in a happy state, if you're in a sad state, if you're in an angry state. And all of this is, again, based on your attitudes, your values, your beliefs, your memories, your decisions. So when people talk about, I'm going to use husbands as an example because it's easier, and your husband's in the kitchen and partner opened up the cupboard, hun, where's the Vegemite? I can't see it anywhere. Where's the Vegemite? Love, it's just there, right in front of you on the second shelf. No, it's not. I've looked, I can't see it. Here, hun, just where I showed you where it was, just where I told you. He just didn't see it because he wanted the Vegemite, but he might have been thinking about something else and it wasn't important to him. And it's like, my husband has walked up the stairs and he's stepped over a whole basket of washing. And I'm at the top and I'd say, love, did you pick up the washing as you're coming up the stairs? He goes, what washing? Wasn't important to him. He didn't see it. It's true. It's how we think. It wasn't important. So we delete bits of information that we don't believe is important to us and not based on our value system. Does that make sense? Yep. Can you hear where I'm coming from? Yeah. So, and even when, let's just say the wife isn't listening, it's because she's listening to something else, maybe in her head, or the kids are talking and something's happening and she's got to choose which piece of information is the most important for her to act on at that point in time. And the same is business. I mean, if you've got Don and John talking up here to you about investing, whatever it is, you're only going to take what information is important to you and act upon it because it's who you are, it's part of your value system. You might delete and distort other information. And that's why children are the same way. They can't possibly take in all the information that's given to them. So based on how they're feeling at the time, they will delete and distort information. There is no such thing as children that can't learn. There are teachers that can't teach. And again, it's based on making sure that when we talk and we communicate through all different channels of visual and verbal and kinesthetic and audio digital, which is what we're made up of, which I'll go into in a bit more soon. But don't be concerned if you go, oh, geez, I don't remember what that person said. Or you might remember something different to Pascal, and Dol's going to remember something to Mickey and to Kim. It's because that's important to you. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All this happens in a split second, and that's why it's the most amazing computer. But even then, we haven't even touched on the fact of how people communicate and how they best learn. Does anybody know here if they're more a visual person than an auditory person? Donna, you're visual. So for Donna, it's important for her to be able to see things. That's why I want to do a presentation. I just don't stand up here and talk, because Donna would like to see, because it will make more sense to her if she sees things. And that's the same in a classroom, any classroom. Children will learn better if there's a visual. Some auditory, they need to hear it more than other people. Some are kinesthetic. It has to feel right for them in order to make sense. And then there are other people that have to have all the facts and figures, full criteria of everything for it to make sense to them. For those of you that are auditory digital, the criteria is absolutely essential for information that comes to you before you're going to make a decision on anything. It has to give you all the facts and has to make you feel that it's right to happen. So there's a visual people, there's auditory people, there's audio digital, and then there's kinesthetic. It's got to feel right. And people will buy through their styles of communication and learning because it's important to them. So I'm going to touch on this. Emotions and feelings. Here's kinesthetic, which means it's got to feel right before they do anything. So Donna, what's your strongest suit? Would it be visual, then kinesthetic, or do you have to see it, then it has to feel right, then you'll make a decision? Okay, so you'll be a V, yeah, a V and a K. Kim, you're going to say? Yeah. So for Kim, it's got to feel right, and then she's got to visually see it. Sales people have mastered this art to its finest degree. So if you're going to buy a car, they're going to cover all these bases. They're going to say, so for Donna, they'll say, Donna, look at this car. Isn't it sleek? Doesn't it look amazing? Why don't you sit in it and feel what it's like to sit behind the driver's wheel? Even when you're buying jewellery, it'll be the same thing. And so for Kim, it would be more, they'll talk to you, and there are words that you use that they can pick up on, whether you might say things like, Kim, yeah, I see this car's got quite comfortable seats. I like the colour. So they will pick up on words that you use in order to know what your style is, what you prefer. Pascal, what do you think you would, more a visual or a auditory?
Visual and mystical.
Yeah. And I do have a questionnaire that when I have groups of people, not as short as this one, that it doesn't take long to fill out, it will actually give you your preferred communication and behaviour styles. And it's the same with your behaviour. Same thing. So emotions and feelings. People will use things like, oh, geez, it feels nice. This feels right. Yeah, I've got a good feel about this. And there are many, many different predicates and phrases that they will use. So when you're talking to people, so when I run my classes, if I've got up to 20 people, I will listen to some of the words that they're writing, that they're saying, and I'll write it down. So I know if I'm communicating to them, and if they're a kinesthetic person, I'm not going to go, Jer, does that feel right to you? He's going to say, what the heck? Feel right? I don't know what you're talking about. You might be an auditory person. Does that sound right to you? And you might go, yeah, that does sound right. So no matter where you go, And if you're trying to learn or make a decision based on information that's given to you, make sure it feels right. You're getting all the information you need visually and auditory. Buying is the same thing. If you go into a salesperson, they might just say, oh, look at this bracelet. Do you like the colour? Visual. Oh, no, I think I prefer silver. Try it on. What does it feel like? And then you'll say to them, well, what's the price? You might be driven more by price, which means it has to fit your criteria. It has to fit your budget. And they're audio digital people. So emotions and feelings, this is a great exercise to do with your family. It's an amazing exercise. Relationships fall apart because of the way that we communicate. It's called crossover communication. So if anybody's trying to sell you something and they're not communicating effectively through the way that you best learn, then they've lost you. The same with relationships. I'll give an example. My husband, going back many years ago, since he's been in France, he's a new person, just came out of his shell, just became who he was meant to be, just thrived, just absolutely amazing. Before he was very quiet, very reserved, didn't take risks, didn't say a lot. And I think it got to a point where we went to a movie and it was a moving movie for me. I loved it. Based on a true story. I can't remember what it was, but it was a fantastic movie. And I've come out and I'm going, what do you think about that? And he didn't say anything. And I said, look, what do you think about it? He said, well, didn't I just tell you? I said, no, you didn't tell me. I said, I've been chattering away, but you've said nothing. But he'd thought he'd said it because it was all in here. It's like if I came out one night and I was dressed up and he might look at me and go, wow, gee, you look great. But he didn't verbally say it because he thought he said it because he's an audio digital person. And that was made such a big difference to me when I found out, when we all did the family all did this questionnaire, and it was such a strong audio digital, which means he would think it but didn't feel that it was necessary to say it. And that exercise made a huge difference for him as well, because I would say, I know what you're thinking, say it. And it's crossover communication, and it happens with our children as well. It was a great insight for me with one of our younger children. We were always crossing over our communication. He didn't understand what I was saying. I didn't get what he was saying because we were listening in different channels. So emotions and feelings is the kinesthetic. Visual. Learning aids. To be visual. It's like if I didn't, look, if I was just standing up here tonight just talking, but Donna, how would that make you feel? Yes. Anybody else like the visuals? I mean, we don't want to do death by... Sorry, you don't have your name tag.
No, sorry, I didn't get that far because I was waiting. But yeah,
sorry, what's your first name again?
Belinda.
Belinda. My apologies, Belinda. Belinda, yes. How would that make you feel if I hadn't put a visual up there?
I would be bored senseless.
Okay.
Had trouble keeping my eyes open. Yeah. Mm.
It's important to cover the whole room. No matter what you're presenting, what you're talking about, visuals are extremely important, and for learning for kids as well. Some just can't take in information without seeing it written. The written word is powerful. And you don't want to do death by Google Sheets or death by PowerPoint, they used to say. You need to combine everything, but visuals are important for some people. Even learning a sport, visuals, showing videos of soccer, of soccer players in the past, of great teams of basketball.
Like the coach on the site has the sheet and shows you where they want you to go.
Exactly. Sports, this is used, all of these learning and behaviour styles have been used in sports for years and years and years. So then you've got, so that's the visual. Anybody else? Bradley, how do you think you best learn and communicate?
Definitely visual.
Who else have me covered? Jude?
Maybe visual and
Auditory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don?
Visual and auditory.
Vicky?
Don't have a visual.
Yeah.
Visual.
And Pascal, we've already gone through yours as well. Do you know, I have done a lot of work with the unemployed, and it doesn't mean that I've worked purely with youth. There have been, over the last 20 years, a lot of people that have been retrenched. And the time of Ansett, of course, a lot of pilots were put off. And going on through the years, there's been a number of highly paid professionals that have been retrenched. Or I happened to have 3 pilots in one of my classes I was delivering, and it was interesting. I gave them the questionnaire to fill out on how they best learn and communicate for their own purpose, because they had to move on from their chosen profession to something else. And the 3 of them came out exactly the same. So if you can imagine, you're a pilot. Within a matter of a split second, you've got to think, see, feel, hear, make sense of it straight away, because you've got a lot of people to look after, plus keep them safe. So every one of them went VKAAD. They had to manage that whole process very quickly. And when you do fill out the form, sometimes you'll find that your visual might be 20, your kinesthetic might be 18. So in a matter of seconds, you'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll hear it, and you'll make sense of it, and you're locked in. So that's why some professions are quite the same. Accountants, lawyers are quite audio-digital, because there's a criteria they must follow. Very precise, a criteria. It has to make sense to them. It has to cross the T's and dot the I's. So the next one, so that's visual. And then you've got the hearing. When we've talked about auditory. Have to hear things for order it to make sense. And if you're not sure, you'll ask questions. Auditory people are ones that ask a lot of questions, because they've got to get that understanding before they make sense of it. So the more that you listen, so don't think that, if you're sitting in, that's why, again, in a classroom, kids come out sometimes a bit deflated, because they are even going to university, because they don't, all these learning and behaviour styles aren't covered. So hearing, and that's why it's great if you actually have, if it's been recorded, of course, for these uni students, because they could go home and listen to it again and listen to it again. And that helps them to digest that information. And of course, you've got the audio digital. Oh, hang on, I don't get it. No, I need more information. You want to buy this property? Yes. I need more information. No, still doesn't make sense to me. Can you crunch out those numbers for me? And they'll only get it, and they'll only make a decision based on that. If audio digital is their top priority, then they're not going to change their mind until it all makes sense to them. Crunch the numbers. Okay, so how is this going to work in the future?
Probably a couple of things just wrap up there.
I'll just ask any more questions. Look, what I've gone through today is something that's to open your mind. love, in anything that you choose to do, you remember that you're the most important people in this world. You are the most important person. Don't let anybody else tell you that. Believe it yourself. If you want to take risks, then start planning to do that now. But what is a risk? Our risk in France didn't turn out exactly the way that we wanted it to, but I would never change that for anything. It's worth it. It's worth it. I'd rather take a risk than not take a risk at all and be 70 and go, oh, I wish I had done that. Start planning now and putting into action some of the things that you want. You know, it can be baby steps, but just follow it through. Believe in yourself. Believe that anything is possible if you believe it. As I said, if you're inconsistent with your self-image and belief in yourself, nothing will ever happen. If you need help, you talk to someone. If you need more information, get it. Take as much time to get that information as you want before you make a decision. But make a decision at the end of the day. If you're fully informed, you've got all the facts, you've got all the knowledge, then what is stopping you? Why don't you ask yourself that? And I'm talking about anything in life, relationships, career, financials, holiday. What is stopping you? Ask yourself that when you go home tonight after the talk today. What is stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve?
So, Donna, if you've been with a group of people, you know, you're with them so many years, and then you come back and see them again, and you get together, and you just realise there've been patterns, and they keep themselves, and you realise they're not really healthy anymore, that they become so negative and entrenched, seeing these people again that you haven't seen for maybe a year or so, but they get sort of linked into everyone else's business, and it's all very destructive. And I'm thinking, oh my God, do I really want to go again to see this?
Do you really want to go?
No,
Are you going to go?
no,
There's your question answered. Don't. And you never feel guilty for anything. No one can make you feel guilty except yourself.
Yeah,
No
Yeah.
one can make you feel guilty. If you believe this is in your best interest and you're moving on in your life and you want positive, you want the glass half full, not half empty,
yeah,
then you need to mix with another group of friends.
yeah.
Or you need to help them or send them for some coaching and counselling to me.
And they're too stuck in their patterns, and
Mm.
I actually challenged them about a pattern, and for the first time ever, you know, and someone else agreed with me, you know, that they were so nosy about everyone else's business, and they were so entrenched in other people's relationships, and in a negative way, and it was really destructive. And yeah, I just found myself, these women were all grouped together, just erupting at one another and exploding another, and then thinking, well, it was an emotional roller coaster, but didn't we have a good weekend? And I'm thinking, my God.
Negativity.
Yeah,
There is something going on in each one of their lives that you don't know about, and we can't assume anything. The most important person is you at the moment, so you just focus on yourself. They're going to have to deal with their own decisions and actions
yeah,
and their patterns of behaviour, but if you can influence them in any way, that's great. But focus on yourself, and no one can make you feel guilty except yourself.
yeah.
It's true. True. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for having me. Thank you all for those that have joined us online.
Yeah, I'll just say a few things, Donna, just
Yes.
to wrap up there. A bit more round of applause for Donna because that has been fabulous. Thank you. And the good news is you guys here in the room have got a far better experience because the bane of my existence and my whole doubt around streaming is sort of, I'm having serious doubts about myself because the online thing is the audio, the streaming, it's kind of a bit of a spoiler, which is a shame because I do love this stuff so very much and what Donna's got to say to you. Now, by the way, who's got something out of tonight? Who's got a takeaway? Who's got something there? I think that's pretty good. Who's in overload? Who's like got too much? Who's like absorbed so much and gone, oh my God, what happened? What was that? Now, did we change anybody tonight? Is anybody going to take action? You know, and normally start the other talks that we do with a preemptive thing saying, don't go out and buy Bitcoin tonight. But maybe tonight, actually, there is going to be some action, and maybe not, you know, the crypto space, but in terms of the brain space, yeah. Now, I just want to touch on a couple of things here, and I think it's relevant. And just while I'm doing this, just a little anecdote about the pilot, you know, it's like the wonderful thing, and I obsess myself about the precision that goes on around the aeronautical space and what pilots have to do, but going back to that, the pilots having to go through all the different systems, yeah, that in their brain, but you've got to remember, there's all those things happening in the cockpit, and they're actually built around the different, when you think about it, they're built around the different things. They've got a checklist. If they, like even that guy that when the engines went out and they landed in Hudson, they had a procedure, a checklist for what to do when the engines turn off. And then when that failed time and time again, and that 3 minutes before they're going to end up somewhere on the ground or in the water, they then flicked over to the checklist for how to set up a plane for a water landing. So and there's all very procedural. Now at the same time, there's visuals, all those things happening in front of them. We've seen in the cockpits, and we see that there's so much in front of them, and they go, how on earth do they process all that? But at the same time, if there's something going wrong with the plane, there's warning klaxons, and there's actually audio things going on, isn't there? There's things going, check, check this, check that, ground approach, stall, these things are actually being said to them. So if they're audio, that's happening for them as well. And one final thing, of course, is they've got the stick shaker. So if the plane's actually is, it's only a technical thing, the machine's doing it, or the sticker's electronically doing it these days, but if they're about to stall, they're actually getting this feedback through their hands that something's going wrong. So, wonderful thing, and so I do obsess around that in terms of running, well, we're going back to my business stuff, running a good business means you've got a really, really good system to know what's going on. But as a little wrap up, I just want to touch on this, the NLP thing, neuro-linguistic programming, and just tick off a few things here in life that I think that make it so very valuable. As said in my life, people often comment that I'm personable. People often comment to me, I've always been a friendly guy, but there's this thing going on in the back of my brain where NLP is something I learned years ago and did formally at a point, and I've just let it sit there in the back of my brain. I don't feel like actively do it. And you sort of get people who like converts to the NLP thing, and they'll sit there and they'll match and mirror you while they're having their coffee and stuff like that. No, it's not about that, but it's just being aware in your subconscious that there's stuff going on. So, as I said, I get accused of being personable. I'm an IT guy trying to spell personable. Okay, so personable. So that's a benefit that comes out of the NLP space, all right? Still got it wrong. The teacher on the back is shaking your head. Okay. Whatever. Now the other thing is that sales and marketing. Yeah. So my business is a marketing business, and obviously to get some sort of success in that is sales. Now I put it to you. I mean, what is the world's oldest profession? No, I think it's actually sales. Because put aside prostitution, she had to sell herself first of all, didn't she? So in terms of the oldest profession in the world, in my opinion, is actually sales. And so to do that effectively, if you've got any desires about getting more, and when I say sales, you're selling something to your kids every time you get them to walk out the door and do what you want them to do. Yeah, sales is getting people on board with your ideas and your concepts. There might not be a dollar price tag associated with it, but it's all about getting people convinced around some sort of proposition. And in the marketing side within my business, oh boy, it doesn't make a difference. We do things within our software and systems where we've got to preempt and think about what people are going to do with the website, the way they're going to interact with it, how do we make it visually appealing, how do we get them to click on the next button, what do we need to do to draw their attention down through the flow. So marketing is very much about an NLP thing because you've got to know people. Just in terms of the altruistic type stuff is just influencing that sort of thing. And around that, and it's a nice little anecdote, influencing teachers in the room. I'm going to...
Just do shorthand, no one will know.
No, no,
mess it up. What was the one I started with one, didn't I, Don? In the first week I was here, I wrote something up and it's like, it's education or something, I misspelled education or something. Anyway, just influence, a little wrap-up anecdote about the effectiveness of NLP is that recently I involved myself with the vaccination hubs. I volunteered at the vaccination hubs, which is just me doing some of the stuff at the Pointy and Maslow, some altruistic stuff. So fabulous thing, but you know, universally was accepted within that crowd, and that goes back to the personal type things. Is people were, you know, I was one of those guys that ushered people to come in and get your vaccination, and boy, wasn't it fun! Wasn't it an education around people and the way you influence them? So I get people there. And there's a couple of quick anecdotes around that. Is there's people out there, and they'd be fidgeting and they'd be fiddling around with their vaccination card. I go, how you feeling, you know? And they would go, oh, I'm so nervous, I hate needles. And I was like, in their face, I'd go and step in and like, but what if you like needles, you know? And they were like, no, I really hate needles. No, you haven't stopped to actually consider, what if you actually like needles, you know? And actually, you know, by actually just interacting with people in this way, I was actually just slightly influenced, or just do something, or, you know, I just do a bit of misdirection in an NLP sort of way, where I'd say, well, who's your hero? Who's your superhero? You know, it's like, and have those sorts of conversations based upon that. But, you know, universally, and an accolade to the teachers in the room and those out there watching, and the teachers that presented. Like, the teachers are amazing, because there's a few times they turn up and they just be standing there. They'll be next in line, they've waited probably in half an hour or whatever, and they just be standing there bolt upright, just cruising along, nothing going on inside or outside, no giveaway. And I'd look at them and go, no, is this your second shot? And they go, no, it's my first. And I look at them and go, you're a teacher, aren't you? Now that was just the fact that they were giving away no signals at all. They had a certain amount of, there was a certain way they looked, but there was that casualness, and, you know, and that, they were just so incredibly calm. And I guess that's comes from, you know, an accolade to the teachers that said the fact that, you know, you live in an environment where there's so much going on around you that you just got to keep calm, yeah. So a big plug for the teachers out there. There's certainly a study in terms of how to be calm. But anyway, that's a couple of things around NLP. There's a whole bunch of other things. There's relationships and family and interactions, the conversation you have with yourself to get the goals. Like Don talked about. Don, you want to add one thing? That's really important.
All of that is under the umbrella of rapport, John.
Oh, rapport, yeah.
You're amazing at building rapport with people.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. I do try. So rapport, self-talk. So the list of benefits, goals, and getting what you want from life. You know, just retaining a state of happiness. I mean, you can't always be happy, but certainly in terms of the whole NLP model, certainly there's a way and means of getting a number of those things. So staying happier more often type thing. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up on that. Look, if any of this touched a nerve with you, or you want to learn more about this, or what Donna's doing, I mean, we don't normally do a plug, but I know that Donna loves doing this stuff and having a longer conversation. So if it's something you want to have a coffee about or a phone call, please grab a card on the way out. Or if you're online, I'll put her details in the meetup comments so you can find her there. But anyway, thank you very much for your patience and coming out tonight. I don't know about me and streaming, I think we're through. But anyway, thank you very much for all those here. Thank you very much everybody online. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Knock this stream on the head and have a happy night. Have a show.